Imran Khan, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, has appointed the 27th Chief Justice of Pakistan Supreme Court, Gulzar Ahmed, as the caretaker Prime Minister. And today itself, the Supreme Court of Pakistan, while its five-judge bench, is scheduled to pronounce its judgment on the legality of the rejection of the no confidence motion. Ambassador Sikri, I am Manish Anand, and we are discussing the prevailing fluid Pakistan situation. Pakistan seems to be back to the old theatrical style of democracy, where army pulls the strings whenever the political leadership goes beyond its control.
Well, as you have said, the situation in Pakistan at the moment is very complex. The matter has gone before the Supreme Court, and we have seen that the question before the Supreme Court, there is a challenge on the legality of the decision by the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly on rejecting the vote of the motion of no confidence, former Prime Minister Imran Khan, on the basis that there's a foreign conspiracy angle. So having rejected it on that ground, the former Prime Minister Imran Khan, gave advice to the President that dissolve the National Assembly and call for early elections, which the President accepted. Now, that has also been constitutionally challenged, that if the Deputy Speaker's ruling was not constitutional, then even Prime Minister Imran Khan's advice to the President was not constitutional. So it has become a very complex constitutional task. But in fact, what happened is that under the Pakistan Constitution, the former Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition are entitled to suggest names of people who can be chosen as the caretaker Prime Minister for the 90-day period. The name that former Prime Minister Imran Khan has suggested is former Chief Justice Gulzar Ahmed, who was till February 2022 the Chief Justice of Pakistan. Now, the opposition parties, the Shehbaz Sharif party, they are saying that we will not suggest any names, because they're saying that we don't accept that this process is constitutional at all, so we're not going to suggest any names. So that is another problem that has arisen. If they do not suggest names within 8-day period, then only the names suggested by Imran Khan will be considered and the choice will be made. So there are so many wheels within wheels on the situation. I think that at the moment, we have to wait till the Supreme Court the Supreme Court of Pakistan gives its judgment and its verdict. Today they have adjourned till tomorrow, and tomorrow 12 o'clock they resume, and we'll see what verdict comes out there. Perhaps there will be a verdict tomorrow and there will be a quick decision. Otherwise, you will have a situation where the opposition is not participating in the process. They will not give a name. Gulzar Ahmed will become the caretaker, and so 90 days later the elections will be held.
Indeed, Ambassador Sikri, in fact, Imran Khan made a lot of dramatic television appearances, and the manner in which he disclosed the foreign conspiracy angle. In fact, he has named the American diplomat Donald Lu, having threatened him, and the message was delivered through Pakistani envoy. Is it his last bit sort of maneuvering to stay back in power, or to manage somehow the army to back him for a while?
Yeah, well, I think that it's, this foreign conspiracy angle is you can draw anything out of a hat and say it's so-and-so person or so-and-so person or so-and-so country. So I don't think he waved the paper around, but nobody has seen that paper to see what is written on it and what is the basis for this conspiracy theory. But clearly it was a googly that he bowled, and including the googly of, asking for this whole thing has been very unexpected. The opposition parties clearly did not expect that the Deputy Speaker would reject the question of voting on the no confidence motion. After that, there would be advice to dissolve the assembly and to call for early elections. So this has thrown a lot of uncertainty into the question. The army is now saying that we have nothing to do with it. We are not part of the political process. It now seems to me that it will have to be judiciary decides. Obviously, if the judiciary, this question of so-called foreign conspiracy is also going to be there before the judiciary, because there are lawyers from all sides who will be speaking. So without getting into any speculation about, who and what and why and whether it's true or not, let's just wait till the judiciary comes up with a decision.
Correct. Ambassador Sikri, the spotlight is also on Imran Khan's relations with the army chief, Qamar Javed Bajwa. In fact, there had been speculation that Imran Khan was delaying an extension to Bajwa off late, and he wanted somebody else as the army chief. At the same time, Army Chief wanted Imran Khan to deliver on three counts, basically, that Pakistan should be off the Financial Action Task Force grey list, as well as Taliban regime in Afghanistan should be internationally accepted. Besides, Imran Khan is striking a balance between America and China. Do you think that Imran Khan failed to deliver on Army's expectations, despite the fact that Imran Khan was the most pliable Prime Minister in Pakistan, foisted by the Army there?
Well, yes, I think in the beginning it was definitely being speculated that Imran Khan has been made Prime Minister because he is going to be pliable and, he's going to do the army's bidding. Certainly that was the expectation. But somewhere down the line on the question of promotion of a new army chief or extension for the present army chief, all those issues came up, and it was clear from the kind of rapid movements and so on and statements made in Pakistan that former Prime Minister Imran Khan had not been able to accept or did not want to accept what the army was asking him to do and wanted his own person there. And from that time onwards, all the issues, the relationship between the army and former Prime Minister Imran Khan kept on going downhill. But, there are 2 points on this. First of all, this is very well-known repetition in Pakistan that, no Prime Minister had been able to complete his full term after elections. And every time some issue comes up along the way, and you find the army once again trying to reassert its superiority and letting it be known to everybody inside and outside Pakistan that we call the shots, what we say happens, and things happen according to that. So let's see this time whether what the Supreme Court says, will it please the army or not. Regarding those 3 points, those are very complex points, and I don't think that given the stand on the FATF, those are objective reasons why Pakistan is on the grey list. Very objective reasons. They've been given a list of 27 points that they were required to meet. They did not meet any of those requirements that the FATF required of them to do, and so they remain on the list. And if they don't, then you can even move to the blacklist instead of the grey list. So those are very objective concerns, and the reason the requirements had been clearly spelled out to the government of Iran. Now, balancing between America and China, have this situation where President Biden is talking about the Quad and the Indo-Pacific and giving a lot of huge budget of maybe 1.8 trillion to the Quad and the Indo-Pacific to, strengthen the position in the South China Sea and to make sure that one country, and everyone, of course, it is China, the country that is there, will not be able to have its way. So that is a situation where I think that, expectation that Prime Minister of Pakistan would be able to influence that is very difficult. And as regards the situation in Afghanistan, that is what the Taliban is making for itself. They had said that, yes, we will accept the international bidding, we will allow girls to go to school. They even give a date of 20th March for girls to go to school, and then they change their mind on the 20th of March itself. So that is causing a lot of dissatisfaction within Afghanistan by the people of Afghanistan. And that is something that, I think it is more for the Prime Minister of Pakistan and every aspect of Pakistan to use influence on Taliban to accept the requirements that the international community has laid down, that it should be an inclusive government, that it should allow for all parts of society, women and children, to have secure and stable life with access to education, bring the economic situation, very dire economic straits, under control. These are situations which could have, if Pakistan puts pressure on them, you may have a movement, but clearly Pakistan is not willing to put pressure on them, and so that's it.
Dr. Sikri, India is always a constant in Pakistani discourse. And on this occasion, we have seen Imran Khan praising India's independent foreign policy. In fact, India going ahead to procure fuel and oil from Russia has been quite praised by Imran Khan. At the same time, the Army Chief Bajwa also said that it's time that Pakistan should initiate talks with India and resolve all outstanding issues peacefully through dialogue. And he did also mention that in the Pakistan's neighborhood, basically the Middle East, a lot of wars are going on, fire is going on, and Pakistan cannot afford fire near its vicinity. Its border should be peaceful. How do you see India being brought into the current political fluid situation of Pakistan?
On the one hand, Pakistan keeps saying that, India is never a factor in the Pakistan elections and, that we don't talk about India in an adversarial way. That's one thing. On the other hand, they are saying now that, we've done a foreign policy review. We're talking about geoeconomics and not geopolitics. So if you talk about geoeconomics, then you want to have good relations with your neighbor and trade. But then they have never given MFN status to India. So then the army chief comes and says that he wants good relations and peaceful resolution and dialogue. And then there's terrorism across the border. Even today, there have been violent incidents in Srinagar and people have lost their lives. So how do you reconcile action with words? I think this has always been the problem when we have wanted to take forward the relationship with Pakistan. This has always been the issue. You cannot reconcile their words, which are something totally different and totally almost mundane, because they say the same thing over and over again, that we want good relations with India. But the actions only show terrorism and resort to terrorism and disruption of the life of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Even when we are seeing that how in Jammu and Kashmir the life of the people has improved, individuals are now, accepting that yes, their life is much better, but still the effort to bring in terrorism is still there. So Government of India has made it very clear that we cannot see the possibility of any diplomacy and dialogue with Pakistan unless their support for cross-border terrorism stops. And unless we see the visible impact, of the stopping of this support for cross-border terrorism. Now, that has not yet happened. So in that case, how can you do it? This is what it is. You can, like the Pakistani army tells former Prime Minister Imran Khan, reconcile America and China. And then Imran Khan goes to China and says, the friendship is higher than the mountains and deeper than the seas. And then you expect America to accept that. It doesn't gel. So you have to have a consistent course of action where what you say gels and coincides with what you do. You can't have two different things. You can't expect that and the world has seen it again and again, so they don't believe you anymore.
Ambassador Sikri, you shared your views with us. Thank you so much for talking to us. Thank you.
Thank you.